Hollywood has always worshipped beauty, but behind the glitz and glamour lie stories that few know. For many black actresses, faces that once symbolized power and grace have now been transformed into unrecognizable masks thanks to plastic surgery. These stories are not just about beauty. They are journeys filled with pain, pressure, and sacrifices made in the pursuit of perfection. But what happens when legendary beauty becomes a cautionary tale for all? Let's explore 19 shocking transformations in this industry. Have you ever heard of the shocking makeovers in Hollywood? Many of the black actresses you admire now face unexpected changes due to the pressure of beauty standards. What do you think about their sacrifices in pursuit of perfection? Leave a 1 if you sympathize with them, or a 0 if you have a different opinion. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Legends of Black Excellence channel so you won't miss out on more untold stories. Vanessa Williams's name became a part of history when she became the first black woman to be crowned Miss America in 1984. That moment was not just a victory in a beauty pageant, but a cultural breakthrough. Her warm smile, radiant skin, and confident aura made her an icon representing a time when such diversity on stage was still rare. However, just a few months later, scandals involving nude photos from her past were leaked, forcing her to relinquish her crown. While many predicted the end of her career, Vanessa Williams proved them all wrong. She shifted her focus to acting and music, taking on roles in Soul Food Eraser and Ugly Betty. However, Hollywood is a ruthless industry, especially for women who dare to age. By the late 40s, Vanessa Williams faced a harsh reality where the industry's attention was increasingly focused on younger actresses. The wrinkles, the criticisms of her appearance, and the intense scrutiny from cameras created an unrelenting pressure. Like many of her peers, she turned to plastic surgery, starting with a nose job and Botox injections. At first it seemed harmless, even effective. Her skin became smoother and she still gracefully appeared on the red carpet. But over time, the cosmetic procedures grew more frequent. Botox stiffened her forehead, fillers puffed up her cheeks, and lip injections dulled the natural softness of her smile. By the time she reached 60, the image reflected in the mirror no longer resembled the beauty queen she once was. Old photos began circulating online with captions like, "She was so beautiful back then." Her old image, gentle, natural, and elegant, has now become a faint memory alongside the unfortunate changes in her appearance. I've rewritten your paragraph in a clearer, more coherent, and thought-provoking style, maintaining the original content and length, while dividing it into parts to emphasize the tragedy and the lesson from Vanessa Williams's story. Here's the improved version. These comments, though harsh, highlight an undeniable truth. Vanessa Williams not only lost her wrinkles, but also lost the essence of herself. However, Vanessa Williams' talent has never faded. Her presence on stage and in music still resonates, proving that she is more than just a beautiful face. She continues to act, sing, and even perform on Broadway, asserting that she is not just about appearances. Unfortunately, public attention often shifts from her work to the changes in her appearance. Interviews with Vanessa Williams reveal a woman who is fully aware of the passing of time, sometimes candid about the pressures she faces. Although she has never openly discussed all of her procedures, her journey reflects the complex relationship between fame, beauty, and personal struggle. But the photos and changes in her public appearances have made this clear. The graceful, expressive beauty she once had has now become refined and unchanging, as though frozen in time. What makes Vanessa's journey so heartbreaking is the irony she faces. She broke barriers not by conforming to a mold, but by shattering it. Her natural beauty made her an unforgettable icon in the 1980s. However, decades later, in an effort to preserve that youth, she became an image almost unrecognizable to those who once admired her. Vivica A. Fox was once the epitome of Hollywood allure. In the mid-1990s, she burst onto the screen with her breakout role in Independence Day 1996, starring alongside Will Smith. By the early 2000s, she solidified her place in the industry with a role in Kill Bill Vol. 1 2003, proving that she not only had a beautiful face, but also undeniable talent and screen presence. Her sharp features, confident smile, and captivating charm made Vivica A. Fox one of the most sought-after black actresses of her generation. However, Hollywood is a brutal industry where time moves faster for women. As Vivica entered her 40s, the offers gradually became fewer. Casting directors started seeking younger stars, pushing her into the shadows of an industry where women are often discarded the moment wrinkles appear. Instead of being celebrated for her talent and experience, Fox found herself judged by the lines on her face. This feeling slowly took root in her mind. By the mid-2000s, Vivica began turning to cosmetic procedures to maintain her youthful appearance. Botox smoothed her forehead, and fillers made her cheeks appear fuller. Initially, these changes seemed subtle and alluring, still preserving her natural beauty. However, by the 2010s, the differences in her appearance began to become more noticeable. Her cheeks became unnaturally full, her lips stiffened, and her once warm, pleasant smile now looked forced. Critics and tabloids quickly published side-by-side photos fueling whispers about her going too far. Instead of focusing on her work, public discussions increasingly centered around Vivica's changing appearance. I appreciate your feedback and the improved version. Here is a refined English version that keeps the meaning intact while enhancing the style. The relentless scrutiny from the public likely pushed Vivica A. Fox further down the path of cosmetic surgery, with each intervention attempting to reverse the previous changes. Vivica addressed some of the rumors about her procedures, admitting to a few minor adjustments but insisting that she had not lost control. However, the public's perception painted a much harsher story. By the end of her 50s, fans on social media began commenting that she looked frozen or stiff, overshadowing the fact that she was still actively producing films and appearing on television. What was once admired became a source of pity, a cruel irony for a woman who built her career on strength and confidence. Despite the criticism and disdain from the public, Vivica continued to reinvent herself. She hosted reality TV shows, produced independent projects, and became an important voice in pop culture commentary. Her resilience proves that she refuses to quietly fade away. However, the most evident proof remains in her image. The natural beauty that once captivated the big screen has now been altered, bit by bit, by the impossible standards set by Hollywood. Vivica A. Fox's journey is not just a story of vanity, it is a reflection of her life in a ruthless industry where women are treated as disposable ornaments. She was once admired for her radiant beauty and undeniable charm, but now, Wendy Williams built an entire media empire with her sharp, unfiltered voice. Before The Wendy Williams Show brought her name closer to the public, Wendy was already a famous radio host, known for her bold, unapologetic style and fearlessly sharing gossip. By the late 2000s, her talk show became a sanctuary for candid, sometimes brutal conversations, attracting millions of viewers. Standing nearly 6 feet tall with a commanding presence and her signature wigs, Wendy was easily recognizable on screen. However, behind that confident exterior, she harbored insecurities that grew with her fame. Unlike many actresses who turned to cosmetic surgery when their careers slowed down, Wendy decided to change her appearance while still at the peak of her success. In the 1990s, she had breast augmentation surgery and proudly shared that it was the secret to achieving the fuller figure that television demanded. She later opted for liposuction to slim down and balance her shape. Initially, these decisions made her feel stronger and more confident. Wendy often shared on her show how she achieved the desired appearance. However, over the years, the surgeries evolved from an act of empowerment to a survival battle. The pressure to maintain her appearance, especially as a woman running a visual media platform, forced her into undergoing repeated surgeries. Botox made Wendy's expressions appear stiff, fillers altered her natural contours, and nose surgery disrupted the balance she once had. By the 2010s, viewers began noticing the stark changes in her appearance. Wendy's face became swollen, her body proportions lost their balance, and the radiant smile she once had was now obscured by puffiness and stiffness. Her internal struggles, compounded by her troubled marriage to Kevin Hunter, which ended in betrayal and public scandal, took a significant toll on her mental health. Instead of seeking healing, Wendy continued to chase change through the surgical scalpel, hoping that a new face could open a new chapter. But the more she changed, the harder it became to recognize her, and she no longer resembled the lively host that audiences had once adored. What makes Wendy's story tragic is that she was never meant to be defined solely by her beauty. It was her wit, boldness, and ability to connect with her audience that made her truly special. However, in chasing Hollywood's brutal standards of youth and perfection, Wendy altered the very traits that made her stand out, ultimately losing much of what had made her unique. Fans who once laughed and cried with Wendy Williams now whisper in astonishment at her transformation. At times, we forget the groundbreaking career she should have been celebrated for. Wendy Williams remains a legendary figure in entertainment history, not only because of her talk show empire, but also because of the profound lessons her life has taught. She reminds us that the cost of chasing youth is not just measured by surgeries or scars. It is measured by the loss of one's true identity, as the disconnection between who you truly are and the image you see in the mirror grows wider each day. Lisa Ray McCoy was once the epitome of Hollywood beauty, possessing a rare combination of elegance and sharpness. After her breakout role in the film Players Club 1998, she quickly became a seductive icon with flawless skin and a screen presence that left audiences captivated. For many years, she was praised as one of the most naturally beautiful black actresses in Hollywood, a woman who didn't need adornments to command attention. However, despite her natural beauty and an ascending career, Lisa Ray couldn't avoid the storms that life would bring. In 2006, she married Michael, who was then the Prime Minister of Turks and Caicos, creating a fairy tale marriage that many dreamed of Hollywood allure combined with political power. However, this marriage quickly unraveled, overshadowed by accusations of betrayal, infidelity, and public scandals. The divorce in 2008 left a deep emotional wound and left Lisa Ray financially drained. Though she continued her career, she faced the brutal double standards that Hollywood imposes on women who are expected to remain youthful, perfect, and alluring, regardless of the turmoil they endure in their personal lives. This pressure led her down the path of cosmetic surgery. Initially, she decided to have a nose job to create sharper features and a more refined look. However, the result was completely different from her natural soft beauty, making her facial features appear more rigid. Soon after, she underwent additional procedures, including chin reshaping to elongate her jawline, cheek fillers, to restore fullness, and lip surgery, altering the balanced smile she once had. Each surgery promised empowerment. But the result created a mask that distanced Lisa Rai from the image of the woman her fans once admired. By 2010, her public appearances left fans stunned. Instead of the alluring star they remembered from Players Club or All of Us, they saw a woman with smooth, stiff features that looked unnatural. Critics noted that her face had lost its expressiveness, her cheeks appeared too hard, her lips uneven, and her pointed chin no longer matched the natural beauty she once had. Online forums quickly spread comparison photos, lamenting the transformation of a woman once celebrated for her radiant natural beauty. What makes Lisa Rai's story especially heartbreaking is the motivation behind these changes. She wasn't just chasing fame, she became a victim of the harsh standards Hollywood imposes on women's beauty. This transformation was not merely a personal choice, but a reflection of an industry that relentlessly demands perfection, no matter the cost. Lisa Rai is battling inner demon's pain and a desire to maintain control while her world seems to be falling apart. Cosmetic surgery, in this sense, was not merely about beauty, it became a survival tactic, a way for her to rewrite her own story in the mirror to confront the inner turmoil. However, the result left her trapped between her present self and the image she thought she had to become. Today, Lisa Rai continues to act in films, appear on reality TV shows, and speak at public events, navigating her journey with resilience despite the ongoing challenges. Her resilience proves that she is more than just her appearance. However, her face remains a constant reminder of the price paid when chasing perfection in a world where women are expected to stay forever young. Once a symbol of natural beauty, Lisa Rai McCoy has now become the embodiment of a cautionary tale about how Hollywood's pressures can strip away not just beauty, but a woman's identity. Her journey stands as a testament to the cost of never stopping in the relentless race for perfection. Nene Leakes wasn't just a reality TV star, she was a phenomenon. Bursting onto the scene in 2008 with The Real Housewives of Atlanta, she quickly became the breakout star of the series. Her infectious laugh, sharp retorts, and unwavering charisma made her the center of attention every week. For a time, it seemed nothing could overshadow Nene's shine. But Hollywood is a tough industry, where alongside personality, appearance matters just as much. And Nene understood that all too well. By 2010, the chatter about Nene's appearance grew louder. She admitted to having had her first nose job that year, explaining that she wanted to enhance the features of her face. Initially, it seemed like a simple adjustment, but fans quickly noticed the change. The higher bridge and more refined tip of her nose altered the expression of her once round face. Not stopping with just the nose, she also underwent liposuction and breast reduction surgery, continuing to pursue her goal of reinventing herself. However, with each change, it seemed that Nene was drifting further away from the natural beauty and warmth that fans had loved from the very first glance. As her fame grew, so did Nene's insecurities. Procedures like fillers and Botox were used to smooth her skin, but they also caused her face to lose its natural softness. Her cheeks became unusually high, her lips fuller, and her smile less natural. Fans who had once admired her authenticity began to wonder, she doesn't look like Nene at all. Nene's personal life only seemed to amplify this transformation. In 2011, her marriage to Greg Leakes fell apart amid public discord, but they reconciled and remarried in 2013. When Greg was diagnosed with colon cancer and passed away in 2021, the grief Nene experienced was unimaginable. For many fans, it seemed that each surgery and adjustment Nene pursued wasn't just about vanity, but rather a way to cope to control the one thing she could when life seemed beyond her control. By the late 2010s, Nene Leakes' appearance had changed so drastically that side-by-side comparisons flooded social media. Her once expressive face seemed stiff, and the features that made her unique were now perfect in a Hollywood sense, but no longer reflected who she truly was. Red carpet appearances no longer garnered the admiration they once did, instead drawing looks of pity and sharp criticism. She remained outspoken, humorous, and exuded strength, but in terms of her image, she was almost unrecognizable compared to the woman audiences had fallen in love with on RHA. Nene Leakes remains a pop culture icon despite the bittersweet moments in her legacy. She broke barriers for Black women in reality television, turning her career foundation into an empire of comedy, acting, and business. However, her face tells a parallel story, a tale of the heavy toll Hollywood's beauty standards can take. The very industry she had conquered pushed her into changes that obscured her identity. Kim Fields grew up in front of the American public. With her role as Tutty Ramsay on the popular sitcom The Facts of Life, she became a household name while still a teenager. With her radiant smile, sparkling eyes, and natural charm, Kim brought an image of youthful innocence to millions of families. In the 1980s and 1990s, fans envisioned her having a long and bright career ahead. However, Hollywood is often harsh on child stars, and when the cameras stopped rolling, the transition from a teen to a mature actress proved to be much more difficult than expected. As Kim entered her 20s, the roles that once came easily to her began to dwindle. While she continued directing sitcom episodes and taking on supporting roles, the once bright spotlight gradually faded. This could have marked the end of her public career until she found a second chance. In 2015, Kim Fields joined Real Housewives of Atlanta, making her return to the public eye. For many fans, it was a nostalgic return of a familiar face, but reality TV brought with it a new pressure. Every line, wrinkle, and flaw of hers was magnified under the high-definition camera lens and the constant scrutiny on social media. Feeling the pressure of this contrast, Kim began turning to cosmetic procedures. Several sources suggest that Botox and fillers were the first steps she took to erase the signs of aging and maintain her competitive edge in terms of appearance alongside her co-stars, many of whom pursued a polished, almost doll-like look. Initially, the changes seemed subtle: fuller lips, smoother skin, and slightly plumper cheeks. However, this cycle didn't stop there. With each visit to the clinic, Kim's face grew further from the radiant, youthful look that had once been her trademark. By the late 2010s, the transformation was unmistakable. Her cheeks had puffed into rigid high points, her lips were overly plump, and the sincere smile she once had now appeared stiff. Even her nose underwent changes, leading fans to question whether the captivating beauty they once remembered had been overshadowed by the glossy layer of cosmetic surgery. Audiences who once admired her authenticity now buzzed with talk about Kim's altered appearance, making her talent and charm seem secondary. Once a symbol of innocence and natural allure, she now faced the price of changing her appearance in an unforgiving industry where natural beauty is no longer the defining factor of success. Kim Fields is not just an actress. She is a long story behind the lens. What makes her journey so profound is that she didn't enter Hollywood to chase fame. She was born into it, nurtured by the spotlight from her earliest years. Unlike many stars who turn to cosmetic surgery to extend their time in the limelight, Kim Fields' path has been shaped by the weight of nostalgia. Kim is not just competing with younger actresses, she is competing with her own younger image. That image remains forever frozen in the days gone by, creating an inner conflict few can truly understand. She has lived part of her life in front of the camera and another part in the real world, where things are far more complicated than fans might imagine. Yet Kim Fields continues to act and bring joy to audiences, proving that her artistry transcends appearance. Still, her story serves as a profound reminder of the impossible choices child stars often face. They must live with the scrutiny of aging, or try to erase it even if the cost is their very identity. For Kim, the effort to hold on to the past has left her with a face that fans find hard to recognize and a legacy complicated by the price paid for reinvention. Her journey is not just a story of physical transformation, but also a cautionary tale about the relentless pressures Hollywood places on stars who once shined and the cost of trying to preserve what has passed. Tichina Arnold was never just a pretty face. She was a comedic powerhouse with a strong personality. In the 1990s, audiences fell in love with her as Pam on Martin, the sharp-witted, quick-thinking best friend who could steal a scene with just a look. She later captivated a new generation of fans with her role as Rochelle on Everybody Hates Chris, a humorous, outspoken mother whose tough love masked a deep dedication. Tichina Arnold's moment in the spotlight was perfect with her powerful energy and unforgettable presence. Unlike many of her peers, her career was built on talent and character rather than just image. However, Hollywood has a cruel way of whispering into the ears of even the most confident stars. As Tichina entered her 40s, the casting calls began to slow down and younger actresses started landing the roles she could have easily played. At the same time, Tichina faced a painful personal betrayal. In 2016, her marriage to Rico Hines collapsed tragically when he was caught cheating. The scandal was made even worse by the leak of a sex tape. For a woman who had already battled an industry that disregards women as they age, this was yet another blow. This humiliation was almost unbearable. Around the same time, fans began to notice changes in her appearance. Rumors spread that she had undergone a nose job, Botox, and fillers. The previously soft, expressive features now appeared sharper and less natural. Her cheeks looked puffier, lips fuller, and her smile no longer carried its former ease. Some observers noted that the warmth that had once made her characters so relatable seemed to have vanished, hidden behind beauty procedures designed to erase the signs of aging and personal pain. For Tichina Arnold, the irony is painfully clear. The features that allowed her to portray the every woman, her expressive eyes and charming smile, have been overshadowed by the pursuit of youth. Tichina Arnold's appearances on screen in the late 2010s sparked attention not for her acting, but for the noticeable changes in her face. The public seemed less interested in her acting career and more captivated by the transformations that made her look like a stranger, polished and refined, rather than the relatable, down-to-earth performer she once was. However, behind the altered appearance remains a resilient woman who continues to rise. Tichina Arnold has remained active in television and stage productions, even branching out into music and political advocacy. She reminds her fans that her legacy is not confined to aesthetics. She still openly speaks about empowerment, self-respect, and overcoming inner struggles. Yet her changed appearance serves as a silent testament to the pressure that even the most humorous and talented women face in Hollywood's harsh system. Tichina Arnold's story is not just about choices regarding appearance. It is a collision of personal pain and professional insecurity. Once a shining gem of comedy, she faced being reshaped by pain, betrayal, and an industry obsessed with perfection. In her effort to regain control, she lost the natural comfort that was key to the timeless value of the characters she portrayed. Her journey serves as a reminder that behind the laughter and fame often lies a deep struggle with identity, a battle that no scalpel can truly heal. In the 1990s, Trina McGee was like a fresh breeze on American television. Best known for her role as Angela Moore in Boy Meets World, she stood out with her elegance, intelligence, and quiet strength. Her character broke barriers, becoming one of the few black actresses featured in a primetime teen sitcom, and audiences embraced her as a refined icon, admired for her natural beauty, delicate features, smooth skin, and unforgettable grace. Yet as the years passed, the glow of that role slowly began to fade. Hollywood has never been kind to actresses over 40, and Trina McGee was no exception. After a painful divorce in 2003, her career stalled and she struggled with the harsh reality of an industry that values youth over experience. In an attempt to revive her career, she turned to cosmetic surgery, hoping that looking younger would help her reopen doors that had long been closed. Her journey began with a nose job in the early 2010s. Instead of enhancing her natural balance, the result was slightly uneven, narrower, and asymmetrical with the rest of her face. Determined not to give up, she continued with Botox injections to erase wrinkles, plump her cheeks, and lift her lips for a brighter smile. By the mid-2010s, Trina's appearance had drastically changed from the woman audiences remembered in the 1990s. When Trina reappeared at events and meetups, fans were shocked. Her eyes seemed perpetually wide, as if caught off guard. Her cheeks appeared stiff, her lips uneven, and her skin was so tight that it almost lacked any natural expression. Comparisons between young Trina McGee and her new look quickly spread online, accompanied by nostalgic captions lamenting the loss of her natural beauty. Instead of being admired, she faced mockery and whispers an outcome far removed from the comeback she had envisioned. What makes McGee's transformation so tragic is the sincerity behind it. She wasn't chasing vanity or competing with others. She was simply trying to survive in an industry that had pushed her to the sidelines. Cosmetic surgery was Trina McGee's attempt at reinvention, but instead of opening new doors, it seemed to close them even further. By the 2020s, Trina appeared less in the public eye, choosing privacy over facing the harsh scrutiny of her audience. The people who once admired her can no longer recognize the woman they once cherished. Trina McGee's story reveals the dark truth behind the obsession with perfection in Hollywood. She was once admired for her natural elegance, intelligence, and unique presence. However, in her effort to hold on to that identity, she altered the very features that made her distinctive and special. The result is a haunting reflection of an actress caught between the past and the image in the mirror. Trina McGee's story serves as a reminder that the pursuit of youth and perfect appearance often comes at the cost of losing authenticity. LaToya Jackson was born into a legendary musical family. As a member of the famous Jackson family, she had the opportunity to share the stage with siblings who had helped shape pop culture. While Michael and Janet soared to superstardom, LaToya often had to live in their shadow. From the beginning, comparisons were inevitable. Critics frequently measured her beauty and talent against the overwhelming success of her siblings, and each disparaging remark chipped away at her self-confidence. Above all, LaToya longed to step out of that shadow and carve out an identity of her own. By the mid-1980s, when Michael Jackson began drastically changing his appearance, LaToya also decided to undergo surgery. In 1987, she had her first nose job, marking the beginning of continuous changes. The initial results were not as expected. Instead of enhancing her features, her nose became significantly smaller, almost blending into her face. But LaToya didn't stop there. She believed that more procedures would give her the look she had always desired. Her chin was reshaped, her cheeks were filled with fillers, and her skin was stretched tight, creating an almost artificial appearance. The soft and warm features she once had were now replaced by sharp angles. The story became even more tragic when her personal life was affected. In 1989, LaToya married Jack Gordon, her manager, who controlled and abused her for years. Gordon forced her to pose for Playboy and threatened her family if she resisted. Under that suffocating control, she clung to plastic surgery as a way to change her image and reality. Each surgery became a desperate attempt to escape the pain and reclaim her identity. By the 1990s and 2000s, LaToya's public appearances left fans shocked and stunned. She gradually became a symbol of unrecognizable change, a transformation that not everyone could easily accept. Her career and appearance became a painful lesson about the price of chasing perfection in Hollywood. LaToya's once delicate nose nearly disappeared, her chin jutted out unnaturally, and her cheeks became swollen as if molded from wax. Photos of her alongside her siblings sparked a wave of comments, making it undeniable that the Jackson family together had become victims of Hollywood's toxic beauty standards. However, LaToya's transformation may be the most heartbreaking, as it seemed driven not only by fame, but also by survival. When she finally escaped Gordon's control and tried to rebuild her career, her physical changes remained a permanent reminder of the years she had endured. Audiences no longer saw the woman with the natural, radiant features she once had. Instead, they saw a woman who had been transformed into an almost unrecognizable image. The more she was harshly criticized, the more LaToya distanced herself from mainstream fame. Still, she remained an important figure in cultural conversations. Her name will forever be associated with one of the most famous families in entertainment history. However, her face tells a different story, a story of an identity lost in the pursuit of personality and perfection, a story of survival overshadowed by the scars of surgery. If you find LaToya Jackson's journey truly moving and thought-provoking, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Share your views on her path and the impact the entertainment industry has had on her. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on more captivating stories. Hit the notification bell to receive the latest videos from us. Patti LaBelle is not just a singer, she is an icon. With a career spanning over 6 decades, her soaring voice, magnetic stage presence, and regal beauty have made Patti one of the most admired women in music. From Lady Marmalade with LaBelle in the 1970s to her powerful ballads in the 1980s and 1990s, Patti has built a musical legacy few artists can match. Fans have not only loved her voice, but also admired her elegant and dignified beauty. Patti seemed to be an untouchable icon, the perfect embodiment of grace. But even legends can't escape the ravages of time. As Patti entered her 60s, the natural signs of aging began to appear: wrinkles, sagging skin, and a slackening jawline. For an artist who had spent decades under the spotlight, the cameras and the scrutiny of the public facing these changes was undoubtedly difficult. In the mid-2000s, Patti was reported to have undergone nose surgery and some minor facial procedures. What initially might have been small improvements inadvertently altered the natural balance of her facial features. Patti LaBelle's story serves as a reminder of the cost of facing the expectations of appearance in the entertainment industry. Even after achieving monumental success, the pressures of aging and perfection are inescapable, especially for icons who have built their legacy over decades. Her nose became smaller and sharper, and fans quickly noticed the change. Driven by a desire to remain youthful and radiant, Patti LaBelle began using fillers and Botox. Her once soft cheeks became fuller, almost stiff, and her forehead lost its natural expression. Even her once delicate lips began to look uneven. When Patti returned to the stage, her voice remained magnificent, but her face had become the focal point of conversations, overshadowing even her music. This raises a profound question. Should legends be allowed to age gracefully, or does fame compel them to chase an unattainable perfection? For Patti, this irony is painful. On stage, she can still hit notes that younger singers only dream of reaching. She can still silence an entire auditorium with the power of her voice. However, the emotional connection between her performance and the audience was dulled by a face that no longer expressed depth. Both critics and fans lamented not because her voice had faded, it remained as powerful as ever, but because they mourned the loss of the natural expressions that once amplified every lyric. Despite the whispers, Patti remained resilient. She continued to tour record and even found success in the fields of cuisine and television. Her confidence never wavered, proving that she was not defined by her appearance alone. However, the images of her surgically altered face serve as a constant reminder that even the strongest and most talented women can feel the pressure from an industry that places beauty above all else. Patti LaBelle's story is not one of failure, but rather a contradiction. She remains a musical goddess, her voice untouched by time, but her face bears the marks of a battle against aging. In her journey of chasing youth, she has lost some of the natural elegance that once mirrored the timelessness of her iconic songs.